Well, good afternoon and welcome to our weekly look at Tiffin University football. Hi, everybody. I'm Russ Snyder, voice of the Dragons. To my right, head coach of the 3-2 Tiffin University Dragons, coming off a big homecoming victory. Coach Brett Ekkens, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing well. It's great to be doing our show today, and excited about the next few weeks.
It's always fun to get together after a win. It's always fun to get together after a fun weekend like the Green and Gold weekend, homecoming weekend. Before we talk about the game, let's take ourselves back to Friday. So first of all, thank you so much for helping me out with my script, getting it printed for me on Friday. But that was your first time as a head coach, getting to experience some of the extra events that happen around the Green and Gold weekend. Let's start with the Night of Champions, a night that we recognize our national champions and those who had national qualifying marks and different things in different sports. It was a lot of fun to celebrate our students and to raise a lot of money for the university.
Yeah, it was a great night. For me, it was great to be able to connect with some of the alums that I hadn't met in person yet.
Right.
So that was it was a wonderful night. I thought that both Jeremy Croy and Kelly Daniel did a great job with the organization of the event. But honestly, it was a great night. It was really cool to recognize some of our guys that had honors from the 2023 season. But again, it was, for me, selfishly, it was really good to be able to connect with some of our alums.
You know, everybody, a lot of times the focus of the homecoming weekend is around the football game, and it's awesome to celebrate the football players, but it's cool to celebrate the other folks as well. We did that on Saturday morning with our Hall of Fame brunch and induction ceremony. One former football player, Frank Johnson, who I knew you wanted to talk to, was an offensive lineman yourself, so it was good to connect with him. But so some other great athletes that have graced the Tiffin University athletic fields, and Joe Grassel, the basketball player, is one of my favorite athletes I've covered here since I've been with Tiffin University. So tell us a little bit about your experience with the Hall of Fame. I get to do it okay?
Yeah, the brunch was great. It was a good meal. We got to eat before the game, and it's always awesome to be able to celebrate a former player, especially an offensive lineman,
right.
And getting a chance to meet his family, and his parents were there, his wife, and it was a special morning. But on top of that, he was at the Night of Champions the night before, and talking to some of the guys that played with him, about him. It's great to hear their perspective on who he was as a player too. So it was ultimately a great weekend. Green and Gold weekend was a huge success.
Yeah, that back in his playing times when Frank was playing, I was one of those guys living around here that if Heidelberg or Tiffin had a home game, I was down at the stadium checking them out, battling the bees from all the soda pop getting spilled the night before. But I used to love going to those Tiffin University games back in the day. And it all led up to the homecoming football game against Thomas More. Now, Thomas More came into the game tied for the league lead with an undefeated record. And the week before, the Offensive Player of the Week in the GMAC was in the game. Thomas Moore's following week, Offensive Player of the Week in the GMAC there. But this time, the Dragons, Alex Johnson, talk a little bit about his performance that earned him the Offensive Player of the Week.
Yeah, Alex had a great day. It was great to get out, and we threw the ball well. We threw the ball efficiently, and our receivers had big days as well. But it was good to see Alex put the team on his back and perform the way he performed.
26 of 33, 365, 3 touchdowns. Let's take a look at how the scoring plays happened here for the Dragons. Got to start off with another young man who, if it was any other week, may have got that Offensive Player of the Week honors himself, and Jalen Thomas, a 13-yard pass from Alex. Dragons take a 7-0 lead off the 11-play, 79-yard drive, 5:27 off the clock, your first score.
Johnson, straight back. Hit as he throws, fires towards the back of the end zone. Caught, but in the end zone, he got a foot in. And it was Jalen Thomas in the back of the end zone. How did he get his feet work in? Wow.
Yeah, Jalen's had a big season so far, and I believe at this point he's leading the league in receptions, and he's really put in a lot of work. And he's a guy that when I got the job back in January, he was one that I met with. He was probably the first person I met with, and at that point he was contemplating what he was going to do, and through a lot of conversation he decided to stay. And he's really not just transformed his game and really taken the next step there, but he's become a leader on this team, and it's been a lot of fun.
It's pretty cool
to see that happen.
See those young men take that step into that leadership role, come in as a football player, and then as a football leader. That's pretty cool stuff. Yeah. At the end of the first quarter, Dragons led it 7-3, and then Alex Johnson got another touchdown pass start the second quarter. This time to Ethan Holbrook, another short one, 14 yards. An 11-play, 65-yard drive, taking 6:35 off the clock, and your Dragons leading to 14-3.
Goal from the 14. Alex, quick pass. Caught, got a blocker in front and into the end zone.
Yeah, that was a great screenplay that Ethan was able to score on, and we said in our meeting the next day, anytime that a screen looks simple, that's when you know that it was effective and that we executed it well. But yeah, great to see Ethan get another touchdown, and he's been a guy that's really stepped up and increased his role, and the role hasn't been too big for him. He's mature and he's handled it well, and does a great job for us.
Ronald Blackman got the next touchdown for the Dragons, and you could tell that Thomas Moore made a very concerted effort to make sure Ronald Blackman didn't beat him in the football game, but that's what opened up the day for the passing game as well. But Ronald still found the end zone a couple times, a 2-yard run in the second quarter to put the Dragons up 21-3 after a 9-play, 77-yard drive, taking 4:34 off the clock.
Here. Handoff to Ronald. Blackman into the end zone from 2 yards out.
Yeah, and anytime that you're playing, and we're doing it right now as we prepare for Ohio Dominican, you're trying to figure out what you need to try to take away in order to win, and they did a good job. Thomas Moore did with their plan to defend our run game, and what we were able to do is get the ball out on the edge and stretch the field in our pass game, and yeah, great to see Ron find the end zone in that way.
The Dragons, they scored that touchdown just north of the 2-minute mark of the fourth quarter or the second quarter, and we talk a lot. Coaches will tell you all the time that first 2 minutes and last 2 minutes, first 2 minutes around the halftime, huge bonuses if you can score points. And the Dragons, we'll say it was in 2 minutes, it was 2:04, but then you get the football back and take a quick 58-second drive, put another 3 on the board with 3 seconds left in half. Ben Rudolph from 29 yards, 7 plays, 53 yards. Talk a little bit how important it was. That's 14 quick points there at the end of the half to go from 10 quick points to go from 14-3 to 24-3.
Yeah, and the way that we looked at that situation, we had a chance to work on a 2-minute scenario for us. So we were looking at the clock, and we had a couple timeouts remaining, and now with the new rules in college football, we knew we'd have a 2-minute timeout.
Yeah.
So as we looked at that, we took it as a great opportunity to go out and work our 2-minute process. And you always like to come away with 7, not 3. So that was the disappointing piece in that. But a chance to go down and put points on the board before half, and it was a well-executed drive. Again, you want to finish in the end zone, but ultimately we were able to work that process and then come back the next day and really talk through what we need to tweak the next time that we have a 2-minute scenario. So we felt really good about that, and then great job with poise by Ben. That was the field goal. That there was a high snap.
Yeah.
He stayed locked on the ball and was able to put it through the uprights right before halftime, which was big.
How have you guys adjusted well to this new 2-minute timeout and the end of the halves? I mean, it's different than anything before. It kind of changes how you use your timeouts a little bit. Are you going to adjust it to everything?
Yeah, and it goes back to the analytics. You work hard on what to do in which scenarios, and you're never going to be perfect, but what it allowed us to do is study clock management at the NFL level, and it's been fun to try to figure out how to use those timeouts well and use them in a wise way.
Yeah, so important, so important. But coaches, when you're watching football on TV on a Sunday, the coaches don't use the clock well. Boy, they point it out right away. Dragons 24-3 lead at the half, and then the opening drive of the second half. Defense scores a touchdown for you. A 25-yard interception return to put the Dragons up 31-3. Darius, highlight with the touchdown. Take us through that play.
Rayvon Vaden fakes the handoff. Straight back. Hit as he throws. Is picked at the 25-yard line and take it to the house, young man.
Yeah, it was a great play by him. And honestly, my message at halftime to our team was that we needed to go out, and it's cliche, but it's what you need to do, and you need to, in your mind, it's a 0-0 game, and defense was going to be up first, and we needed to go out and get a big stop. We talked about getting a big stop, and he got to take away and put points on the board, so we were fired up, and Darius is a guy that his role increased last week, and he really stepped up.
Yeah, he did.
He's done a great job for us, and really, we haven't talked much about the defense yet, but our defense played lights out on Saturday, and man, that was one big play that made a huge difference in the game.
I'm sure you probably told him, let's go out and get a 3 and out, get the football back. You probably came to say, was that okay, coach? Was that a 3 and out? But how about the pick 6? We'll take that, right? 31-3, the Dragons lead it there, and then another touchdown pass to Jalen Thomas finding the end zone once again. This time 39 yards out, and that's a play where Jalen was using his athletic ability to get himself to the end zone. 4 plays, 65 yards, only a minute and a half off the clock to take a 37-10 lead at the end of 3.
Yeah, and that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to come out the second half and resume really where we left off. and I felt like we did that, pressing into the third quarter like we did. So it was a good response to be able to come out in the second half and have the ability to go out and do those things.
End of the third quarter, Dragons lead at 37-10. Ronald Blackman early in the fourth quarter finds the end zone again. That was set up by a Alex Johnson to Joey Zalewski, 46-yard.
He was right now trying to set up a screen back this side of the tight end, Zalewski. He's got all kinds of blockers in front of him. The 30, the 20, the 10, and written down.
Pass. And I forgot to mention before that Ben Rudolph field goal at the end of the half, Dragons score, and your defense got you a 3 and out right away to get the football back. See, I made my notes down here, and I should have had it up here, but that was so important as well. Your defense taking their opportunity to put the offense in great positions to get the job done. And they did at the end of the second quarter. They did it early on in the fourth quarter as well. But Ronald Blackman, 2-yard touchdown run set up by the long pass to Joey Zalewski, a 46-yarder on that drive to put the Dragons up 44-10.
Back, tight formation on his first and goal play. Johnson has it, gives it to Ronald. He'll get into the end zone. Ronald Blackman.
Yeah, we talk a lot about complementary football, and that's what I felt like we took a step in the right direction of doing on Saturday. So that was a huge point of emphasis coming off of the Ashland game in an area where we could improve. And I felt like, we really did that Saturday.
Yes.
So the defense did a great job of getting the ball back for the offense. The offense did a great job of scoring off those opportunities, and the special teams ties it all together. So that was what our mission was, and really, again, Sunday when we came in and reviewed the film and had our team meeting, that was something that we praised.
Your leading rusher on Saturday was Tyreek Spikes, and he got in the end zone, a 9-yard run to cap the Dragons scoring. 6 plays, 55 yards, 2.5 minutes off the clock, and that sealed up a Dragons 51-10 victory.
Hand off this side, and in the end zone.
Victory. Like I said, they were making sure Ronald didn't beat him, but you have more than one athlete in the backfield there. So Tyreek, he got to get the job done for you on Saturday, and he did.
Yeah, and we talked about him last week. It was the first time we'd mentioned his name this year. He had been doing a good job with the kick returns, and we saw him get a couple carries the game before, but he'd done a good job being patient, working hard. We've seen these things happening in practice,
right.
So it was great to see him get out and capitalize at the end of the game like he did, and really he got some consistent carries throughout the game, and he made the most of his opportunity.
Let's talk a little bit about the defense. Thomas More was one of the more explosive offenses that you had seen this year, and maybe one of the more talented offenses. You held him to 193 yards defensively while your offense got 516. Let's talk a little bit about the overall play of your defense.
Yeah, they did what we set out to do. I think we held them. We were right at 100 yards. We want to keep people under 100 yards rushing, but we did a good job stopping the rushing attack. And Thomas Moore's quarterback had done a good job all year of being a guy that had the ability to hurt you if you let him get out of the pocket. We did a good job of. He
had his moments, but you guys didn't let him have explosive moments.
Yeah, and that was a huge point of emphasis. And then in the defensive backfield, we had to do a good job matching up against those receivers. And we felt like, again, the things that we set out to do, the goals that we had as a defense, that we went out and accomplished those goals on Saturday. 2
interceptions for the Dragon defense. One of those turned into a touchdown, and also holding them to 1 of 14 on third downs, and a plus 9-minute time of possession advantage for your kids on Saturday. Great job there. Now on the offensive side, Jalen Thomas, 7 catches for 122 and a couple touchdowns, Joey Zalewski, 79 yards. Javier Wills, we haven't mentioned him, a quiet 59, getting the job done again.
Alex has the snap. Clean pocket, fires far side, is caught at the 30-yard line, 35-40. I think that's how.
And again, we were able to spread the ball around, and a lot of guys had touches on Saturday. That's something that we want to do. Jalen Thomas has had a great year, but if you have one weapon, they're easy to take away.
Oh, yeah. That safety slides over. And
exactly. Yeah. So we were happy about that. And, one thing that, again, when you talk about complimentary football, the takeaway from Dennis Crawford late in the game.
From the 16-yard line, Pass is intercepted on the far side of the 10-yard line. To the 20 and to the 20.
Game.
That's where I was going
next. That was a huge interception.
Yeah. Two interceptions. We mentioned Darius with the one that was returned for a touchdown. And then Dennis Crawford, he's a guy who's quietly becoming a little bit of a playmaker for you in that secondary. His name's not out there in the limelight a lot, but man, he just seems to keep getting the job done.
Yeah, Dennis has been a guy that's rotated in for us, and really with with where he's at. He's in his freshman season of being able to play. He's been here. This is his second season, but redshirted last year, and he's really responded to the playing time that he's gotten well, and he's made some plays. It was awesome to see at that point. Thomas More was driving, and the ability as they were in the red zone to pick that football off and limit Thomas More to 10 points. That was something that's big. We talk a lot about our process. We're not concerned about the scoreboard. We want to play good football no matter what the scenario is. And that was a great job working through, hey, we're in the red zone, our backs are against the wall, what are we going to do and how are we going to respond? And that was a big takeaway for us.
Well, the defensive backfield can't do the job if the guys up front aren't doing their job. Chris Walton had another big day for you as well. The defensive line played really, really well, and your linebackers, Collier Brown, Kenny Bird, both had a big game for you too. But everybody up front did a really nice job for you.
Yeah, if you look at the statistics, the tackle statistics, I don't think we had a guy over 6 tackles.
Right.
So sometimes you get carried away. Jacob Twainme the week before had 15 tackles. But at times, as you look at it, and your tackles are divided up like they were, that means you're playing good defense.
Yeah.
That means that there's not one singular guy that's had to step up. And honestly, we played a lot of different guys in the game. Even before the game got to the point where it was 51-10, we were playing other guys, and they were stepping up and making tackles and making plays.
Well, I have to say, when I got to the stadium, we had volleyball and soccer before the game, so it was a bit of a rush getting to the stadium and getting set up. And some of your parents must have known, because when I got there, right in front of my computer I already had set up was a plate with foil on top of it. Had smoked chicken wings, had baked beans, had potato salad, had other stuff, and then a cup to the side that had banana pudding in it. So thank you so much for leaving that for me before the game. And I wasn't able to eat it all, and I didn't want to go to waste, so I shared it with Mitch, who takes care of the stadium there. So thank you guys so very much. It's so thoughtful you are. I really appreciate it. So after Saturday, the Dragons 3-2, 2-1 in conference play. Finley and Ashland still sitting there undefeated, top of the league. Tiffin sitting there at third. And this week's opponent, Ohio Dominican, 2-3, 1-2 in conference, and they're in the middle of a tough run. They go to Ashland, to Tiffin, home for Finley. That's a tough stretch for any football club, that's for sure. Last week they lost at Ashland 26-6. They have GMAC wins over Kentucky Wesleyan 38-7. They lost to Thomas More 6-0, and they do have another win out of conference over Seton Hill 21-14 in the opener. Tell us what you've seen about them on the offensive side of the football after watching film of what they do well.
Yeah, they're going to move the football. Some of the scores aren't indicative of their team.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, they've got 2 receivers that are in the top group of receptions for our league.
Mm-hmm.
They've done a good job of moving the football, and they're definitely a team that we don't take lightly. And their defense is lights out. They have one of the top defenses. I believe they're the top defense right now in the league. So as we watched the film, last week's game that they had against Ashland, they forced Ashland to kick a lot of field goals. They didn't let Ashland score. I think Ashland might have had 1 touchdown on them. So as you watch the film, we know we're going to have a game where we've got to come out and be well prepared. We know it's going to be a physical game, and we're really excited to get out there and play on Saturday.
Nathan Webster is a tailback for Ohio Dominican. He's 6th in the conference in yards per game. The quarterback, Drew Gallahue, 3rd in the conference. And you mentioned the 2 receivers, Dimitri Mitsopoulos, 3rd in the conference, and Jaden Cornell, 4th in the conference. And you look at the Dragons in those statistics, Ronald Blackman, 1st in the conference in yards per game, even being held well below his average last week, still leading the conference. Alex Johnson, 2nd in the league in yards per game, and Jalen Thomas, as you mentioned earlier, 1st in the conference in yards per game. So tell me, Coach, 3rd and 4th wide receivers in the conference, 3rd quarterback in the conference, and they've had some games of 6 points. Their high point total 26, another one 21. Not a lot of points put on the board by this team, but they got some guys who are playmakers.
Yeah, they do, and it's the same thing that we talked about. After a couple of our games where you're frustrated that you're moving the ball and you got the yards, but you're not finding the end zone. Those things sometimes those things sometimes come in waves, and we've got to do a great job defending them this week, and we know that their defense is stout, so we've got to have a great plan to attack that. So it's been a week where we're really spending a lot of time on our plan, and our kids are really motivated to have another good week of practice. That's been the biggest focus for us is relying on our process. If we have a great process, we feel confident going into the game on Saturday.
Is this the time of year, since we're at the halfway point now, where you kind of got to adjust your practice schedule a little bit because the bumps and bruises guys are accumulating through the year?
Yeah, and for us, we've had our practice taper's been planned since the summer.
Right.
We talked through at a certain point. you taper different parts of practice, and honestly, we've been able to maintain our plan throughout. And yeah, the challenge is always, as guys do get beat up, how you manage their workload.
Right.
But we feel like we've had a good plan, and our process. Our kids have been locked into our process, and they understand that, hey, we've got a good plan. And honestly, practice yesterday, the kids came out with tons of energy and enthusiasm, and that's what you want to see at the midway point.
Right.
The times where I've been on part programs that have dipped in the second half of the season, typically the team isn't excited to be out of practice.
Right.
So it was a great indication that we're going in the right direction.
Had a great crowd there for the homecoming game as well on Saturday. Talk a little bit about how much fun it is, and I guess important in the big picture of the program, to perform well when the alumni are in town and on campus.
Yeah, you want to perform well every week, but there's no secret that it was homecoming. We talked about that throughout our week. Our emphasis was making sure that the game was the game. Like that's the reason why people are coming back, is to see football or whatever sport that they play. There was lots. We talked about 3 home games on the same day. So making sure that the game isn't a sideshow. That's why people are here. And we prepared for that, and our team wanted to perform well in front of their family, friends, and alumni.
Yeah.
And it was really a special day, and it was a great turnout. And all of our home games so far have been great turnouts.
They have been.
So it's been awesome to have the Tiffin faithful out there.
And now it's starting to feel a little bit more like fall football weather outside. We've had some hot Saturdays. Starting to feel a little bit like those fall Saturdays here outside of Tiffin, Ohio, here in the northwest part of Ohio. Chris Walton leading the league in sacks. Justin Whitby tied for the league lead in interceptions, and Kenny Bird 7th in the league in tackles per game. Those are just some of your playmakers, but you got a lot more on the defensive side. It's going to be fun to see those guys get at it on Saturday against ODU.
Yeah, I thought we were going to have one more defensive touchdown. We got called for a face mask on the strip that Kenny had.
Yes.
Chucky picked up and ran it back for a touchdown. So I'd like to see that happen for our defense, man.
Let's get another one this week.
The Dragon defense, good job there. They lost it. It's picked up. There's a penalty flag on the field. It's going to be taken to the end zone by Chucky Lewis. Let's see if it stands.
I hope so. We've done a great job of taking the ball away, and we're going to continue to work on playing team football.
Well, this Saturday, the Dragons is 4 o'clock kickoff. You can catch the audio of this at 3 o'clock on WTUD, TUDragonRadio.com. We'll try to catch up with the Tiffin University Dragon Football Radio Network around 3:30, and as we said, the kickoff at 4 p.m. on WTUD, TUDragonRadio.com, the TU Dragon Football Radio Network, and all the video at the Great Midwest Digital Network. Well, Coach, it's another football Saturday, and that's always a really, really fun thing. Let's go out and get us a W. We'll come back next week and talk about it and preview our next road game next Saturday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll see everybody out there at 4 p.m. on Saturday.
He's Brett Ekkens, head football coach at Tiffin University. I'm Russ Snyder, voice of the Dragons. We'll catch you next time on our look at Tiffin University football.